So, Coach, last time we saw you, you were covered in Duke's mayo. You still feel like it?
Still trying to get it out.
What was that like?
Something you would only do once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
But it was for a good cause, though.
I love it. Yeah, it was for a good cause. So you're a trooper with it. Let's talk about your season and, of course, the spotlight on your quarterback, Taulia. Tell me a little bit about what makes him special and fitting perfectly into this program.
I think, one, his ability to extend plays, his off-platform game, which in the game of football now, a lot of the things that quarterbacks do come off platform. And his ability to extend plays with his feet, his accuracy, his ability to take off and run with the ball when needed, are all things I know, having coached on the other side of the ball, are things that give defenses trouble, as well as just his competitive spirit.
What are some of the things that you'd like to see him improve upon as you enter into the summer camp here?
The one thing when we evaluated his game from a year ago that kind of jumped off the tape for us was the deep ball accuracy, and this was something that he had excelled in the year before, but for whatever reason, we felt like we left some plays out on the field where we either didn't make the throw or we didn't make the right kind of throw, and so we put a big emphasis on that deep ball accuracy, whether it's the big post, the 9-ball, leaving it outside, the corner route. Those were all things we tried to emphasize, the right kind of trajectory on the ball, the right placement, throwing guys open down the field, and it's something that I expect to see him improve upon.
What was your relationship with Tua like that helped you with Taulia at College Park?
The Tagovailoa family, I've been involved with them since, I want to say, like 2016, when the recruiting process started on Tua. Obviously, we had coaches that were responsible for recruiting him, but having him on campus, getting to know him, and then becoming a co-coordinator his first year, and then the coordinator year 2. The quarterback, the head coach kind of are hip to hip, especially because of my involvement on the offensive side of the ball. But having Coach Tua definitely played a major role in our ability to attract or to get Leah to decide to come to Maryland, because I think Tua was that third-party validation that I needed to say, you know what, this guy has a system that fits perfectly for what you do, and he knows how to take you where you can't take yourself.
And when you talk to Maryland fans, they're looking for a big season this year, of course, with him at quarterback. But when you look at the program as a whole, you haven't had 3 straight winning seasons in 20 years. What does it take to build that consecutive success within a program?
Yeah, I think it starts with having an understanding that you don't build on what's happened. You got to knock it down and start from scratch every year. But what you do is take away some of the things that allowed you to have the type of success. And it's, to me, the goal is to compete for a championship, but you don't let the work that's necessarily to do get in the way of the goal. And so to me, I think our players understand that it's great to have goals to compete for championship, but we've got to embrace doing the work.
When you love saying that success leaves clues, and that's a saying you love, what does that mean in your words? Like, what has impressed you about this team? What clues are you starting to see with this group?
Well, it starts in the locker room, being connected and committed. College football with the transfer portal and the NIL and all those things that have taken probably the greatest team sport and now kind of individualized it somewhat, because players are individually benefiting in college from their name, image, and likeness, while also the ability to leave and come as they please. And to me, the quicker you can get that connectedness within your team, within your locker room, and even when you bring in new parts, have them buy in, the quicker you'll have a chance to win. And I feel really good about the way our locker room has progressed over the last 4 years.
We're here at this Big Ten Media Day. Certainly so much hype leading into the season, big mega TV deals that were just signed in the offseason. So there's so much to get excited about. But playing in the Big Ten, coaching in the Big Ten, what makes this the best conference in college football?
Well, I think it's the personalities when you talk about coaches. I mean, some of the best coaches in all of football, and you look at the track record of some of the guys that I get a chance to compete against at Little Old Maryland. I mean, to be able to go up against 4 or 5 of the teams that have consecutively or consistently been in the top 5, top 10 in the country is something that we strive to be able to do, and we're excited about it from top to bottom. And I've been in the ACC, I've been in the SEC, I've been in the Big Ten a couple different stints. There's no doubt that in every Saturday or Friday that you have an opportunity to play in this league, you better make sure you have your team prepared, and you better be prepared for a dogfight.
When you talk about little old Maryland, what makes that fan base special, in your opinion?
I just think the grit of our community. The DMV area is the most powerful city in the world, Washington, D.C. We've got the benefit of Baltimore and being right in the middle of two big metropolitan areas, while also offering what a small town college campus is like. So we've kind of got the best of both worlds, and just being able to be around so many powerful individuals there in the city, while also, you know, the strength of just the type of market that we're in.
Yeah, you talk about that DMV market, and I know you know it well. Describe what your experience was like growing up and selling tickets to Maryland games back in the 80s.
I mean, I grew up, I think, in probably the best era of it. I know we've had some stints in the mid-'70s where we've had great success, but that mid-'80s team is the one I grew up on and cut my teeth on as a young guy that aspired to come and play at Maryland, which I didn't get the opportunity to do, but I did make some good money because of those Maryland teams in '83, '84, '85, where we won 3 straight ACC titles. We were one of the top teams in all of college football. They kept me busy because they sold out Old Bird Stadium.
Could you have ever imagined those days, like thinking back then, you know, note to your younger self that, hey, you're going to be the head football coach of this program one day?
Yeah, it's surreal. Some of my buddies that I grew up with in the neighborhood, you know, when I drive in and pull in and I see head coach, University of Maryland, on my nameplate when I park, it kind of, every day I see it, I still smile and chuckle a little bit like, man, I tricked them. I found a way in, and I got keys to the castle.
Who would you say is the greatest football player to come out of Maryland?
Man, you're trying to get me in trouble. There's so many.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had opportunity to have quite a few guys or recruit quite a few but it's too many eras of great players that have come through there. You know, I know some of our more decorated players are guys that had an opportunity to have great success, you know, from Randy White to E.J. Henderson, you know, to name a few, but there's so many with the current guys like Stephon Diggs and Vernon Davis and Sean Merriman that have come through the program. It's too many to name, but I know what, I'm really proud to represent what they've built.
As we continue to take a little trip down memory lane here, I'm curious, you know, what your earliest memory is from playing football.
Man, you know, I'm a Boys and Girls Club guy, so I grew up pretty early playing the sport, and I just remember the coaches, man, guys like, you know, my coach, Officer Willie Borden, it was the Police Boys and Girls Club, and to me, I didn't know back then that that's what community policing meant, but I just remember the impact that those coaches had on me as a youngster growing up in a tough area in D.C. to where it molded, shaped, and helped me become what I've become today as a coach. I still lean on some of the principles and some of the philosophies that I grew up on with some of those early year youth coaches and my high school coach, Frank Young.
That's awesome. To that note, you know, you created the National Coalition of Minority Football Coaches. I know, you know, Marcus Freeman's in there. Ryan Walters of Purdue came through the program as well. So what is working so well with this program?
You know what, I just took what I call the cheat code of how I was able to rebrand, or, you know, I was a guy that got an opportunity to be a head coach early at New Mexico. As I like to say, I failed miserably, but you know, what I've come to find when you read all these successful leaders in our country and of business, you learn from failure. And I've been able to get a second opportunity, but to see guys like Marcus and see guys like Ryan benefit from the coalition, to me, it's my way of paying things forward, because I'm a big believer that the most value that you'll ever create for yourself is when you do something for others or for a cause greater than your own. And to me, I wanted to leave the game a little bit better than it was when I got involved.
That's great. I worked with Marcus the last couple of years at Notre Dame. It's great to see the success he's having. Who were some of your mentors?
You know what, Doug Williams, Debbie Al, Nick Saban, you can throw him in now. You know, I had a chance to work under him late in my career, but I tell people it was a lot like going to, you know, taking a year off and having a chance to study abroad, because that was my plan when I took the job at Alabama as an off-the-field coach. But there's been a lot of people that have impacted my career, but I would say guys like Ralph Friedgen on offense, you know, Ron Vanderlinden was one of the better evaluators that I had a chance to work for. Ron Zook as a recruiter that was not a more tenacious closer. And so what I found myself is taking pieces of each of these people that I had a chance to work under take some of the strengths that they had, but make it into who I am as a person.
Getting back to Nick Saban, there's such a fraternity there of coaches that move on to big roles, head coaching positions like yourself, NFL jobs. What is that fraternity like?
Well, I feel like I came up the hard way in it because, I was not a head coach at a Power 5 place that failed miserably. I was at a Group of 5 place. But being under the umbrella there to see just how consistently coach has been able to build that program, we all take what I call grandma's chocolate chip cookie recipe, and we try to apply it the best way we can with the resources that we're provided.
That's awesome. What makes this time of year exciting for you, knowing what's coming up, what's on the horizon?
Yeah, being a guy that's born on Christmas, I always say it's Christmas in August because you never know what you're going to get until you actually get to camp and you start seeing the identity of the team. You start seeing who the cast of characters will be, what roles people will play. And so this is the fun time because it's the unveiling of who you are becoming as a football family.
When you talk about the identity of the team, how do you as a coach have to adapt when you finally get your players in place and you know who this group is and what the identity is? Do you adjust your philosophy or your approach at all?
You always do. I think your players dictate who you become. I think you should have a broad-based enough system on offense, defense, and special teams that allow you to take the player and work to their strengths and then minimize the things they don't do well so that they have a chance to have success on Saturday.
Speaking of Saturday, take me through what your post routine is like. So you get done with a game. Do you go home and think about the game all night? Do you wait till Sunday to study the tape? What is that routine like?
Each year I've matured a little bit better, and I don't mope as long if it's not what I like. I've learned to maybe embrace or celebrate those small victories when you do have them. But for me, after the game, it starts with having just that. They gave me a 30-minute buffer in my office because I'm home. It's where my family is originally from on both sides, my wife and her family, my family. So we tend to have a lot of people upstairs waiting after a game, win, lose, or draw. And for me, that 30 minutes where I just get to go in the office and have silence has been a game changer for me. But what I've learned, and some from tragedy, I lost a son a few years back, is that football is a game, and you better enjoy the successes, you better embrace the failures and learn from them as quickly as you can. And so I don't hold on to them as much or as long, but there's still plays in the game or decisions I make in the game that maybe stick with me a little longer. But I try to flush the game in the 24-hour rule. You got 24 hours to celebrate it or 24 hours to kind of figure out what went wrong. But come Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon, it's time to get back on the horse and go again.